Greetings, my friends. Thank you for being here. Welcome. We're going to get started in just a moment. This is a really exciting time in the Life Force Academy, and I just want to let you know what's on the horizon here. We are in eclipse season in the Life Force Academy. The classes each week are themed around this really important and transformative time. It's a great time to be uplifting your life, building your vitality, making your mind operate in its intuitive clarity, having your heart connected to the purposefulness of what our life is about. We have Maui in May, then we have LIB later in May, but then in early June we have the Life Force Academy Immersion. That's going to be broadcasted all over the world, but also, as of now, there is still spots available for you to be there in person. My opinion, this is the coolest event, the most transformative event, the most uplifting thing, most inspiring thing that we do each and every year is the early June immersion, Life Force Academy Immersion. The entire Simrit band will be there. It is my favorite event of the year. I want to invite you to be a part of it, whether you're there in person. There's still a few spots available right now, or if you're attending it from wherever you are, the virtual experience of this immersion delivers. It's powerful, the music's on point, the video is beautiful. I want to invite you to be there. Coming up in July, the Life Force Academy Kundalini Yoga Teacher Training. Enjoy the class, everyone. Welcome to the event. We're really happy that you're here. We're about to go live in just a few moments, but before we lift off, there's a few important things we want to make sure that you're aware of so you get the best possible experience out of this. First of all, the sound current is supremely important to us, the musical experience. So if possible, we really encourage you to use good speakers or headphones to experience the class with. Second, if you have any pre-existing injuries, please take care of yourself, modify as you need to. Don't risk exacerbating an injury because of a yoga exercise. If you have any pre-existing medical conditions and you're not quite sure if this would be good for you, please consult with your primary healthcare practitioner and make sure it's the right thing for you. Also, make yourself relatively comfortable. You can use a cushion, and in fact we encourage you in our seated positions, meditation practices, to use a cushion. It helps lift the heart up, keep the spine straight, and it's more ideal for the flow of energy in the body and for the meditation experience. You can even be sitting in a chair with feet flat on the floor for those of you that are unable to sit in a meditative sitting posture on the floor. Just use a chair, and for many of the exercises that will work perfectly fine. And then lastly, if you're having any problems with the video streaming, try refreshing the page, or if you see a gear icon on the video, adjust your resolution. If you're new to this type of thing, just take care of yourself. If there's something that you don't quite understand, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Everything that needs to click will click after a few times of trying it out. Enjoy the experience. We're about to get started in just a moment.
Hey everybody, welcome, happy full moon. We try to do something every full moon, and I think the main thing, I really always look forward to these. I look forward to being with you all. I look forward to doing some exercises and just feeling good, you know? That's all it's really about, is feeling good so that we feel, comfortable in our bodies, relatively happy in our minds. We're not trying to go for like all perfection of anything. It's just relatively happy in our minds so we feel good, so we can be present with whatever our life is bringing forth to us right now. I think sometimes we like jump ahead a little bit, is like enlightenment. And that's not a bad aspiration, you know. But also sometimes if it's a little too much like that, I find, at least for me, it can be a bit of a drag, because so much of, I find, to be the joy in life is to appreciate things exactly as they are right now. And maybe that will help us be a little more enlightened, because it's just really trying to pay attention to reality without all the narratives that the mind places over our experience of reality. And that's always the tricky thing, is what is the narratives in which everything is being kind of metabolized through. You know what I mean? Because our mind has some narrative going on. Everything operates in stories. I think that's one of the reasons why listening to stories, reading stories, passing stories on is such a helpful thing. Because when you have mythological stories that really do carry kind of the wisdom of life inside of them, and you tell them and you pass them on, it kind of shapes our own ability to see things, I think, a little bit more easily for how they are, because we can depersonalize the narratives. When emotional energy is so strong and powerful, isn't it? Our emotions. And that becomes one of the challenges, is, okay, how do I somehow, because we've tried suppressing the emotions, that didn't work out so well. It's just, then you end up like shook up soda bottles type thing, and eventually that's going to pop. And it's kind of unpredictable when it's going to pop. And it might be like when you're in the middle of the grocery store, or something like this. Because just like one thing that you never know when something's going to trigger the emotional body, do we? So, and when you have come to full moon times like this, well, then the emotional body is kind of at a peak. And that doesn't mean that we're emotional in some negative context at all. It's that the water element is kind of swelling. And sometimes that's good. Like if you're a surfer, you're like that when the tide gets high and the waves are good. But if you're trying to just like chill, and like you were having a nice time on the beach, but now like the tide's coming up and it was so peaceful, and now it's not peaceful anymore, and there's like things are crashing, and you had such a nice vibe, and now everything's like So full moon can sometimes do that too. And so the paying attention to things is the endeavor to try not to manipulate or try not to attempt to manipulate the circumstance, because you can't manipulate whether the full moon, whether the tide is going to come up or not. The tide's going to come up, and then it's going to recede, and then back and forth like that. That's the way of things. And so, but what we can do is start to work with our minds in such a way that it's less gripping onto the way we wish it was, or wish it to become. And you can modify its tendencies a little bit by little bit, baby steps, to be pushing away less the situations and the circumstance we would stay away. And so that's just the slow but beautiful process of becoming happy. Because that type of happiness isn't reliant on the outer circumstances. So therefore it means we have to cultivate some type of vitality that allows us to maintain this process in our life. And out of that, I find, comes joy, actually, and comes creativity. Because life is less like a roller coaster ride. It doesn't mean that we're still not emoting. It doesn't mean that we're still not feeling pain. But what's the difference between pain and real suffering? Is suffering happens when the narrative around the pain causes more pain. That's called suffering. So if we can modify the mind's tendencies to put narratives on things that are non-helpful, then little by little we become more happy. That's not a religion. It's not anything but other than paying attention to the mind, its tendencies, and discovering what helps us feel better and feel more genuinely ourselves, and less anxiety and less depression and less anger. It's not that we're saying don't ever have anger. Anger is sometimes essential. Fire element. Some things don't make us angry, then there's maybe we should maybe check ourselves a little bit, perhaps. So to feel fire is to feel alive, but to be dominated by fire is to suffer. And so then when anger emotions are dominating our behavior and the way that we communicate to others. And a lot of the times this is happening on not just the obvious ways where we just blow up at one of our loved ones. That sometimes can happen from time to time. And then hopefully we can just later say, I'm so sorry, and smile. Because we mean it. None of us are meaning to harm one another if we dig deep enough. We're just doing our best. But sometimes So that's why I've always feel the whole thing has to be held in this kind of net of compassion. If you're going to take the path of modifying your mental tendencies, make sure, I always feel first and foremost, take the path of compassion. Because it starts with the self-compassion. I need to have compassion for my own dumb things. And dumb because they're making me less happy, or dumb because they're causing other people to suffer. So I do that type of stuff, and then I was like, fuck. But following right that feeling is love. It's not going to shun myself because more and more here's where I feel like the real payoff for the whole thing is, because this modification of tendencies is not easy work. It means you have to be active participant in it. As the Buddhas say, there's that samsara won't get rid of itself. Delusion won't get rid of itself. You have to actively get rid of it. It's the same thing. You have to be active participant in awareness of tendencies and modifying them little by little. Fortunately, the yoga practice has helped this whole thing so much. It shows you how to do it. It does it for you even a little bit. And a lot, and it leaves you feeling blissful. But blissful is just, the feeling of blissfulness out of this stuff is a byproduct of the actual thing. The actual thing is discovering reality, what is real versus what is not real. That's a never-ending blossoming. Bliss is not the thing. Bliss is the feeling that comes from the thing. And I think that's always an important thing to point out, because otherwise, then if you start just chasing bliss, then you're in a certain way, it's just chasing the pleasurable parts of the practices. And then when the real difficult things come around, there's a big drop. Whereas if you can just enjoy blissfulness, let it fill you up, but not grasping onto it, not pursuing it as a primary thing, knowing that will come. Real bliss is quite subtle, and it can come out of both the painful circumstances and the pleasurable circumstances. But you see, when you start to chase just the feeling of bliss, which is easy to do, especially with practices like Kundalini Yoga, where you can feel really blissful. And then you think, like, it feels so good. It's like, thank the Lord. I've been trying to feel good, and I did it without any having to, like, take a drink or do anything, It's like, wow. So it's a fantastic thing. I think it even totally recalibrates the nervous system. Very much feels like that to me. Nervous system feels regulated. I feel like the endocrine system, hormonal system becomes more balanced. Every single time I can bring myself into that meditative zone where that blissfulness comes forth. I feel connected to what my life is about. My sense of inner confidence strengthens. Good. There might be something 30 minutes later that totally challenges my sense of inner confidence. A good thing I had a little bliss to start with, a little dose, but that's just being able to come into the space where the narratives stop for at least a little bit. And you can just enjoy the presence of your chi, the presence of life force itself. It's a beautiful thing. And that's something that it's easy not to do, but when you do it more regularly, it's like, it doesn't make sense to not do it. And almost in the same way, it doesn't make sense to not shower. But what is it getting a shower is the mind and the tendencies of the mind. It's like, oh, my mind, relax, stop going on these narratives. What's an example of a narrative? Is that, if this business can't succeed, then if this money doesn't come in, all the worst possible scenarios are going to take place. That's the narrative. It doesn't mean that there's not some value to that narrative, but they're just the worst possible scenarios. Also think of the best possible scenarios. Or say, if I don't have her in my life, or him in my life, or them in my life, I just will not feel complete. That's a dumb narrative. Sorry, it's a dumb narrative. Depending on anything else for completion. So putting some external, you don't know what that person's going to do. Even the best relationships, you never know. So then if that is no longer the kind of main thing, this idea of fairy tale ways of completing ourselves, but rather if we can see, what if I could just be cool with no matter what happens, I trust that there's some intelligence to things. There's some intelligence to things. You look at these, like, have you ever looked at the stars? Or gazed over the ocean? Or seen a baby be born? There's some intelligence to this thing, and there's a love that kind of permeates everything. And I think we all know that. Deep down, we all know. And love is something that's undeniable. It's not philosophy. And so it's trusting in that. It's trusting in nature herself, and that's difficult. But you see, in this kind of approach of Kundalini Yoga is that there's going to be painful things in life. There's going to be very pleasurable things in life. Neither of them are going to be ultimately fulfilling. But all of them are important. And all of them are this kind of unfoldings of the special story of each of our life. There's a great mythology there. And so that's why I don't know if it's 100% true, but I heard that Joseph Campbell, who of course he was always one of my favorites and still is. And the first time I ever heard the word Kundalini was through Joseph Campbell in his interviews with Bill Moyer on PBS. I was like, whoa. And he, of course, was famous for the phrase he used to tell his students you need to follow your bliss. Follow your bliss. So I was told, and I don't know if it's true for sure, that towards the end of his life, he said, wouldn't it have been wise if I would have said instead, follow your blisters. I think they're both kind of true in a certain way. Is that sometimes it's the painful circumstances of our life that are moving us in the direction that ultimately is going to make us more happy, more ourselves. Sometimes that is a split up. Sometimes that is some sort of traumatic or major life-changing event. Sometimes it can be a health crisis. Sometimes all sorts of things. So to take that type of courageous leap, to even try to trust that, it doesn't mean that you don't totally fight for the life. If I'm sick, I need to be healthy. Every moment is precious. Any moment in a human body is a precious moment. And every season of our life is precious. That's why it's nice to pay attention to things like the full moons and the new moons, because and what is the kind of energy or mythology of each of them, because it helps us to be a little more present with the season of life that we're living. It's one way to stay present. It's one way to kind of see how that forecast can kind of bring into your mind's awareness and in your heart's awareness. In the yogic system, heart and mind are not two different things. Chitta. So when you bring forth what's really kind of on the forefront of importance for you right now in life, and some of those things we notice them because they're causing us pains. And some of those things, we notice them because they're causing inspiration, and therefore they become access points to our creativity. And our creativity is how we continue to produce in this world. And not just have a baby, but creativity is a daily thing every day in life. And so as now that when we're using, like, say, Kundalini Yoga, it's not just kind of philosophically understanding, okay, first chakra has to do with, fear, sense of security in life. Second chakra has to do with creativity and sexuality. Third chakra has to do with willpower and your ambitious energy. Fourth chakra has to do with love and the ability to get beyond just the me-centric consciousness into a more we-centric consciousness. So now as the energy is starting to circulate more predominantly into that area of the subtle nervous system body, now very naturally you feel more of a connectedness with others. Now it's harder to be an asshole. But you can still do it. But it's harder because we feel sensitivity, and we start to naturally feel a connection to others. So now that becomes a problem for our narcissistic tendencies, because we can notice them. And we can see that, how maybe this type of I think of people on the planet just hoarding, fortunes, and while so much of the population not even enough to have a bite to eat. Interesting how one can feel okay about that. Then certain things change in the energy system. It's not very easy to feel okay about that, because you can actually feel the connectivity to life. Maybe we're not thinking about it this way, but it changes how we feel. And that's an asset. That might be inconvenient to narcissistic tendencies, of which we all have some. Because we're all trying, when you're little children, you develop the ego. You have to, because you need to be able to operate in this world. So they say, this is mine, this is mine, this is not mine. And when there's little babies, we don't even, or toddlers, you don't even want to share. It's nah, man, this is my ball. Get your own ball. You know how this is coveted, precious. That's how we feel about as children. And one of my son's kindergarten teachers, she's because no, share with the other kids. You're supposed to, you're trying to be a good parent. No, share your whatever it is. And she's no, at this age, she said they first need to learn, how to have something before they can learn how to share something. So there's a natural development of the ego. I thought that was so wise. Ego is not a negative thing. Ego is a part of the human psyche, the identifying part of the human psyche. And so first part of life, you got to just identify with this body, get used to being in it. But then if that process just kind of keeps going in that direction, then we become adults. And that identifying tendency is so strong, and it's just me-centric. So below the diaphragm, the realm of me-centrism. And so if you don't get that life force chi circulating up a little bit, and if that's the case, then it's the chakras are really like the lenses through which we experience life. So if then you can kind of change how the chi in the body is circulating, and to get it more stimulated into also the more refined, subtle parts of the organism, now it kind of changes how we're perceiving life. That's very, very helpful. That's what we say, developing magnetism or developing Shakti. It's now I have the power in a certain way to kind of feel, see the connectivity of life, my connection to all of life. And that's my creativity is going to flow out of that. That's what it's called love. And then I'm going to feel the natural desire to help others, because when I'm helping others, it's helping me. There's this one web. That's when I think of the heart chakra, Anahata. The symbol of it is the six-pointed star, like the Star of David, or the Solomon seal. And then you go here into the throat Vishuddha chakra, and now it's even more subtle, because at the first base you have earth element, root chakra, Muladhara. Second chakra, water, Swadhisthana. Third is fire, Mars, Mangala, Nabi or Manipura chakra. And so this is where you can generate all that energy. But then what is it? what is the energy being utilized for? That's why so many of these breath practices and exercises we're doing today is really about kind of helping to circulate energy from this kind of lower potent reservoir. So potent. This is what all that emotional energy we feel when it creeps up and it's like, oh boy, that's this energy down here. So when we work with it kind of preemptively? There must be a better word. I just think of preemptively somehow in a negative context, but maybe not. If we proactively, if we work with this area proactively, then generally speaking, we just have a little more kind of containment for our magnetic energy, which includes thoughts, feelings, emotions, and desires. We like to think about magnetism, but do we like to think about thoughts, feelings, emotions, and desires? We like it when it's like, oh, prosperity, aspiration, actualization. And that's what this full moon's symbology and mythology is kind of about. Its symbol is the hand, Hasta Nakshatra. And it has to do with being able to take whatever your desire is and place it into your hand. So it's a good night to do that. You do that by working, but it's one thing to kind of, okay, full moon, good, work with whatever you've got. Well, what's really fun and really helpful with, say, what we're going to do tonight, and all really through this season, eclipse season is here, where this energy is a bit unstable. Whenever you have, and they always come at least in pairs, sometimes you get 3. This time we'll just have 2. 2 weeks from tonight will be the solar eclipse on the new moon. And then 2 weeks after that will be the lunar eclipse on the next full moon. So we've kind of entering into that window. So we'll be right here 2 weeks from tonight doing the same thing. And you're invited. So when you're working with these different centers like this, and you're working to kind of move this kind of potent energy from the lower part of the organism up into the heart. That's why I'm always putting so much emphasis on make sure you're on your sit bones. And then a lift through the chest, drop through the shoulders, so you can have a kind of a good channel here, but also where there's a little bit of room for the navel to operate. And if you're new to this stuff, don't worry. It'll flow. But if you go into the Life Force Academy, especially if you're newer to this, when you go into the Life Force Academy in the class series, there's a introductory 3-part series. They're each 1-hour classes, and if you do those 3 little classes, say over a week or 2, you'll have these fundamentals of doing these practices pretty well rounded, I think. And they're fun, and each one of them is not some listening to a bunch. You're practicing, you're doing it, you're gonna feel good. It's a yoga class. But those 3 classes are really designed and taught for that purpose. And the music is really good. And then pretty much anything you're gonna do with us will benefit from having those fundamentals. So tonight, if you're new to it, just, do what makes sense. Whatever's not quite clear, just don't worry about it. The main thing is we're going to move the energy. All this stuff I'm talking about, we want to just kind of bring it into actualization. That's called, we want to feel it embodied. Feel it in our body. No longer thinking about it or experiencing it, that type of thing. A little of both. Maybe a little thinking about it. But just as really kind of an avenue to help get inside of it. That's how I think of philosophy, is just helpful tools that in order to give you an idea of a direction. But then all philosophy should, I always feel, be verified through individual experience. Not just believing something because it sounds good. And maybe just by hearing something, sometimes you feel like that's definitely it. But still, I always feel like I need to verify that. They talk about that in the Buddhists, and there's different levels of faith, and they have this kind of sincere faith where it's described as this: you have this desire to learn more. And then it eventually gets to irreversible, where your conviction and whatever your faith is so strong that you would easily you would willingly, at least, maybe easily is the wrong word, but you would be totally willing even to let your life go if need be. This is the type of idea. That deep trust that the love intelligence has got you, and you are that actually, and at some ultimate level, nothing could ever go wrong. That's the journey. That's the heroic journey. Following your bliss, and also sometimes following your blisters. Bliss is Jupiter, blisters is Saturn. And we have to have kind of both. So, all right, shall we do some exercises and some practice and see if we can then use this potent energy of our body and kind of transfer it and circulate it up into also the subtle energies of our body, which are also quite potent, less dense, but more long-lasting. So really the real power is the subtle power. The real beauty is the subtle beauty. The real love is the subtle love. The subtle love, you come together. The subtle love, you can also fall apart. The love doesn't change. Just the temporary status of a relationship changes. You see? But if the mind had some like thick narrative of what that relationship was, and it was supposed to be like, ooh, that coming apart is not going to be very blissful at first. You see? Because the narrative will perpetuate the suffering. So just bringing our mind's awareness to this, to that reality, then to go in and move the prana, and to just come into that deeper space within ourselves, that where it's like we can really feel intuitive about life. And you go into it. That's what I love for intuition. You go into it. And that's what tonight is going into it. Not just staying on the surface of it, okay? So thanks for being here, everybody. Happy full moon. Let's do the little yoga practice. Take some in your hands and make some warmth. Oh, palms pressed together. Inhale deep. Press the palms nice and firm. Keep the breath in for a moment. Then exhale through the nose. Inhale deep. Exhale through the nose. Inhale deeply. Press them down. Then create a little bit of a lift of your pelvic floor if you can, and begin inhaling, the head is coming up. Exhale, that is coming down. Breathe. And at first, really the only thing to do is to listen to the breath and endeavor to start to make the breath move more deeply. It'll take a couple of minutes. It's making the spine nice and supple. See if you can spread your fingers totally wide. Tops of your feet on the floor. And then give it a little rhythm. Exhale, the head is down. Good, and then come sitting again cross-legged. Okay. Working with the breath. First off, index finger touches the thumb, and then just rest them on your legs. Most of these you can do even just sitting in a chair. If you're on a chair, feet flat on the floor. Ideally, no shoes or socks. Have your sensitive toes out. Your hands are so sensitive, fingers, and feet and toes. That's why it's so healthy and helpful to sometimes just walk barefoot, if you can, somewhere nice, like in the park or on the beach or wherever in your front yard. Index finger touches your thumb. That's also sensitive, like an instrument. Then you lift your heart up, you're right on your sit bones. That means your sternum's lifted, chin is ever so slightly tucked in. Shoulder blades relax down as best as you can. Inhale deeply. Then fully exhale through the nose. And then again, inhale deeply. Fully exhale through the nose. Inhale deeply. Then through the nose. At first, focus on the exhalation and hit the rhythm. Inhale deeply. Suspend your breath. That means keep the breath in, but relax your upper body some. Relax the mind some. It's spacious of the mind even. Then through your nose, exhale. Bravo. We'll try again. Inhale deep. Exhale. Alright, now inhale. Listen to the rhythm. Listen to that tambourine and put your breath with it. Now the exhale and the inhale become equal in strength. Lift up your heart. Now inhale through your nose deeply. Suspend the breath. And then exhale. Bravo. Now check this out. Inhale. Now your tongue goes come out. So just stretch your tongue out a little, and like a dog when it's hot, like that, but it's a lion's breath. Chest out. It stimulates your immune immune system at the thymus gland center of your chest. Opens the lungs and the rib cage as the season is changing. Perfect. As you go into Kapha, spring season, the lungs become provoked. This is called helping everything out. Use the navel. Through the nose, inhale. Now lift through your pelvic floor, rectum, sex organ up and in. Then your navel, just under your belly button, pull the abdomen in. And relax. At first, like, lift the mula bandhas, lift the root line. You say, pull the rectum and then sex organ, the navel. At first, it feels very rudimentary, like after a little bit of time, those muscles start to tone, and it's actually quite a nice, easy, subtle thing that you can very much feel creates stable foundation for not only your body. Anytime you go work out, any trainer is going to tell you if you're not going to injure yourself, you have to use your core. That's why when you're lifting a box, you have to use your legs and your core, not your upper body. It's the same in yoga practice because that's the physics of life. Down here is the foundational energy. So when you lift through the, inhale deeply, suspend the breath. Now lift gently, pelvic floor. In the navel, that's your abdomen just under the belly button. Then release, exhale. Inhale deeply. Suspend the breath. Lift the mula bandha, rectum, sex organ, navel. Soften your upper body, release your shoulder blades. Exhale. One more time, inhale deeply. Suspend the breath, mula bandha, pelvic floor, navel, soft of the chest, and then also spacious of the mind. And exhale. That's pretty nice, no? Now inhale through the nose. And again the tongue out. As I open the heart up a little. It's not aggressive, but it's deeply rhythmic. That tongue connects to your central nervous system, Shushmana, central channel. Now keep the breath going, but do it through the nose, go Last little bit, make your exhale and inhale equal. Deeper the breathing. Now through the nose, deepest inhalation. Suspension of the breath, lifting through the mula bandha, pelvic floor, navel. Spacious of the mind. It's like gazing over an ocean sunset. Spacious. Exhale. We're not asking the mind to not have a narrative. We're just asking it to upgrade the narrative, because there's always going to be some narrative. This is why yogis chant mantras, because they know there's always some narrative going on. Mantara, it's like wave of the mind. Man is the Sanskrit word. It means mind. And in fact, Sanskrit is one of the root languages of the English language. So often there's similarities in our words. Man means mind. Tarang, wave of the mind. So all it's doing is, okay, give the mind a sound current, a wave that's going to produce a little more joy, a little more happiness, a little more good time, a little more fun. And why? Because it's taking back the power of your mind. And it's because currently it's a bit being hijacked by all these emotional narratives. But it's for each and every one of us to decipher for ourselves, what are the narratives that are not helping me? It's not like listening to somebody's doctrines. Sometimes you can get good advice, no doubt. There's fantastic wisdom teachings all over the earth that help us out. At the end of the day, it's our work to figure out, how do I be authentic? How do I be real? What is real? What is not real? What is going to actually make me happy? We all have that in common. Everybody's trying to figure out, how can I actually be happy? And so all the Tantra and what Kundalini Yoga practices are saying is that actually your natural state is happy, is a happy beyond the happy that the relationship coming, the money coming, any of those happies will pale in comparison to this happy, this type of joy. It's not some fluffy thing that's like, it's not some superficial positivity, like everything's good, everything goes my way, but not actually feeling that. You can absolutely feel everything goes my way as long as it includes all the also very difficult parts of life. All of us one day have to shed your bodies, and our loved ones will shed their bodies, some of them before us. That's really hard. But can we still feel like everything is going our way? Because our way is part of some sort of great mysterious way, isn't it? That's a love. Okay, so we'll keep working with these centers so that all of this can be genuine possibility that we can feel and experience. Yeah, sit bones connected, hands on the ankles or shins. It's like this. When you lift the sternum, it feels like the sit bones are pressing down as the heart lifts, and it's through the nose, and it's deep, and it's rhythmic. It's like this. Spinal flexors, inhaling lift, exhaling back. With the beautiful rhythm, yeah, give it some sort of feel. A little bit of soul. Every inhale, you feel, make the breath touch the blood. Taking some responsibility for our own happiness and vitality. Taking it into our own hands. And choosing it. And then putting enough behind it to actually choose. Building the magnetic field, building the inner energy. Keep going. Another 30 seconds or so, and now your inner gaze, you draw it up and in where the root of the nose meets the skull bone, the brow point between the two eyebrows. See if you can relax the gaze generally into that area as you continue to listen and feel the breath rhythm. Attention goes, the prana flows. Bring your attention to the point between the eyebrows, where the root of the nose meets the skull bone. Last little bit, deeper the breathing. Now deep inhale through the nose.
Suspend the breath, lift the pelvic floor, Mula Bandha. Third eye goes the gaze between the two eyebrows. Then exhale. Beautiful, just like that. Hands come here. And if you could, pelvic floor lifted, heart lifted, shoulder blades release, elbows up at shoulder height. 4 fingers in the front, thumbs in the back. Inhale left, exhale right. But most important is part of it is how deep can the breath rhythm be? To the center, deepest inhale. And suspend the breath once again. Root lock, navel, sex organ. Perineum up and in. Soften the heart, spacious of the mind. Inner optic gaze. Third eye point. And then through the nose, exhale. Have your hands to your knees. Then like this. Like. Then you can even go. Inhale up, exhale, release. Every exhale, just let the shoulder blades release down your back. Loosening up the tension in the upper back, neck, shoulders, go. Keep your chest lifted, please. Every exhale, let the shoulder blades release. Inhale, squeeze them up. Squeeze out a little tension. And release. Bravo. Keep your heart lifted, my friends. Very gently, just relax your jaw, relax your tongue, relax your mind even, and then gentle neck roll. It's just called softening, so that it's an opening of the more subtle channels. And that's not some esoteric thing. Even when you go and work out and you go on a run and you get like a runner's high in other direction, or you go to the acupuncturist and they put the needles in you and you walk out of their place and you're like, wow, I feel really good. All I did was snore in there, and then feel amazing when you come out. And inhale to the center. Good, stretch your legs open wide. No. Last one of these called opening the life nerve. Open the legs wide, like Chandra is showing here. Feet are flexed. You're right on your sit bones. Use a pillow or cushion to get you up on your sit bones. Into the center, inhale. Turn to either side, hinge forward, exhale. Inhale, fill the lungs, and then hinge forward the other side, exhale. Don't worry about how flexible you are or how far you're coming down. Just open your body. Use the breath. Every inhale, fill the lungs. Every exhale, finish the exhalation. Every inhale, fill your body with good, fresh life force.
Okay, inhale, center. And then hinge forward, exhale. Good, relax up. Shake the legs out a little bit. Come back cross-legged. Have a little bit of water, please. We're working with that same breath, but it'll be like See, powerful doesn't mean like aggressive. My face doesn't need to go like this. Maybe if I'm just learning it, the face will be a little like trying to figure it out. But where you want to arrive to eventually, and it won't take long, is to, instead of, some say breathe powerful, I say breathe, give it your rhythm depth. And if I find if you focus on rhythm, then the vata will stay also balanced. Because anytime you're working with your breath, you're working with your chi. So you want to do it in a way that's not going to be disruptive. You're going to do it in a way that's going to actually be revitalizing. So I can do that. I can lift my chest up. I can go... One vertical relationship to gravity. Sit bones connected, heart lifted, chin is in, lifts the crown. Shoulder blades release. Exhale. Pelvic floor lifted. Inhale. Pelvic floor. Then. And your heart is lifted. Use the power of your navel point. Put the navel into the rhythm. Inhale. Mulabandha, soft heart, beautiful, spacious mind. Exhale. Amazing. You see how that works? Because if you have your chest lifted a little bit, the navel's not just going forward and back. You can feel it. Like, do it when you're just kind of slouched. Just kind of goes forward and back. Lift your heart up. It's an upward movement of the navel. And the yogis describe the human body and mind really as a very intricate network of channels that begin at your navel point and end at your fingers and your toes. Different models describe it slightly different, but they all agree on most all of it. In that there's a subtle energy system, and there's ways of accessing. It has access points. That's why acupuncture knows just where to put the different needles, etc., etc. So we're going to work with the access point of your navel. And this is the next exercise, a little bit difficult, always worth it. Okay, come onto your backs. And what I'm encouraging as we go through eclipse season, that this little guy here, this little exercise becomes part of the regularity of the routine as a consideration. See how it feels to you. Ladies, though, if you're on your moon cycle right now or happen to be pregnant, just relax and do long, deep breaths. No need to stimulate the navel like this. Inhale deep. Fully exhale. Now, here's how it works. Chandra will show. You come at inhale, and the legs and the head are 6 to 12 inches up. Then she's going. Toes are pointed and the eyes are on the toes. It's a drama, this whole thing. Watch all the narratives that will come when you start to do this drama. Whenever the most drama is, that's when the most narratives are. So drama's happening in life, here come all the narratives. Some of them are going to be very powerful. Some of our narratives that are not actually helpful still have strong magnetism. And those are the ones that take more time and tenderness and consistency of practice in order to modify. You know what I mean? Now, you can protect your lower, if it's straining your lower back at all, have your hands under your butt in fists, palm side down, just like Chandra is showing there. Yeah? That's what it is. Okay, on your back, legs together. Take a deep inhale. Don't worry how well you do it. Anytime you need to relax, just relax. Exhale fully. Never injure yourself for some yoga exercise or risk or exacerbate some pre-existing injury. Always modify that. Inhale deeply. And fully exhale. Push all the breath out, 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 out. We're going to do a few more of those deep breaths. We're not rushing into it. Inhale deeply. And you see, ground your lower back and down into the earth. Into the floor. Inhale deeply. Ground the navel point, the navel chakra, down into the earth. And connect your magnetic energy to the earth magnetic energy. One more time, do exactly that. Inhale deeply. And exhale. Now, this is your deepest inhale. Come into the posture. And deeply move the navel in the rhythm. Lift up through your chest. Your pelvic floor lifted in, toes pointed. Lift up the sternum. Pelvic floor in. Now move the navel. Inhale deeply. Mulaband. Relax. Amazing job. This is how you ride the wave of the full moon. This is how you ride the wave of the eclipse season. You bring your vitality strong because you know what? You're already good. There's nothing up ahead that is looking to harm you or any of us. There's nothing ahead that needs to be really feared. Change? Sure. But that change can help facilitate the blossoming of our life regardless of what it is. So if we keep our vitality good, then our mind will have more of its greater contentment. And we can flow with our life, and we can never give up our joy. Because things are very hard. We can still maintain a certain degree of cheerfulness. Because we can access that part of us genuinely. We're not having to create some facade. One more time of that stretch pose. Inhale deeply. And fully exhale. And this time you're going to put the navel into this great rhythm. Inhale deeply. Fully exhale. Now come into the position. Deepest inhale. And go. Okay, you got 10 more seconds? A little something. Pelvic floor lifted, navel goes. Deepest inhale. Hold the posture. Root lock is in. Relax. Amazing. Really inspiring. this is one. I think over the next few weeks, Life Force Academy, I feel like by the end, when we come into May, our whole navel energy is going to be so vital and strong, and our core strength is going to be good. We're going to feel that in our body, and I think it's going to help us tremendously. So this next one is hug the knees to the chest. Okay. And then you bring your nose up like Chandra is towards the knees, and you relax the shoulder blades down. That's fantastic. Again, relax it, the head down. Okay. So that's the posture, but when you come into it, try to keep your shoulder blades relaxed down. You squeeze tight otherwise, okay? Take a deep inhale, come into the position. Exhale, release the shoulder blades. Now deepest inhale, and go resets the whole digestive power. Inhale, squeeze up. Squeeze up and relax all the way down. Hug the knees to the chest again and rock a few times to come up. It's just reset the system, isn't it? Come on up. And then the legs are just easy pose. 3 minutes here. Your thumbs are up, your fingers are tucked in, and you come 60 degrees, okay? Shoulder blades released. Inhale deeply and goes. Now in 3 minutes there will be all sorts of opportunities to observe the waves of the mind as they come crashing in through your awareness. Sometimes it can be a little intense because after all, you're in a predicament. 3 minutes, a 60-degree angle. But if you can keep that breath rhythm going, you can keep that navel moving, and you can see if you can kind of relax the inner gaze where the root of the nose meets the skull bone. What will happen is that chi, that prana, in the lower part of the organism and the body, out of that pressure of the angle, the movement of the navel, the softening of the heart, and a relaxed gaze into the intuitive space of the mind, that prana will lift.
30 seconds. Now rhythm. Try to overcome the dramas of the mind by going deep into it. Into what? Rhythm. Like charging the magnetic field. Charging the kind of vital energy of the body-mind. With the navel. And the expansive heart. And then an expansive presence. See if you can visualize a beautiful arc of like a brilliant light connecting the two thumbs. And your whole kind of spinal column, central channel, like filled like a pillar of brilliant light, energy, and go. Inhale deeply. And then the thumb tips touching above the head. Bring them up. Fingers tight like steel. Put yourself in the body, not the mind. Stretch through your spine. Fingers like steel. Lift up the pelvic floor. Inhale a bit more. Stretch through the spine. Touch the ceiling. Release the shoulder blades. Lift the Mulaban. And then exhale. Relax. Beautiful. That was way more than 3 minutes. Almost maybe even 4. Really beautiful done. Beautifully done. Okay, last part. Are you ready? And shake your shoulders out a little. And have a bit of some water. Because this final meditation is really beautiful. But it's a little bit difficult. Not all the Kundalini yoga meditations are very difficult physically. Sometimes the things that are very simple physically, they're more challenging on another level. But the physical ones are one important part of a Kundalini yoga system. And this one does provide a little bit of a difficult physical challenge. And my encouragement to you is just give it a try. It's not about like if the arm comes down or something like this. This is not a big deal. All it really is kind of working with your energy how it is today, working with your body and mind how it is today. So that's all. This one I think you'll love at the conclusion of it. It's very cool. Okay? It's called to stimulate the chakras and to feel wonderful. So, first part of it is your left hand coming up across the center of the forehead, 4 fingers straight up, thumb pointing up. Okay? This is not a problem. Right hand comes out with the hand like this, straight away. Fingers firm. Fingers firm. This is a problem. But it's a good problem. So it'll be like this, okay? You're going to be in that posture. And at a certain point, it's going to be, okay, when is this over? Just deepen the breathing. Okay? If you have to come out of it, keep meditating. Do all the rest of it. I'm going to give you the breath focus. I'm going to give you a mental focus. So stay with the meditation. And if you can't do the physical part the whole time, or even some of the time, try not to be discouraged. It's not how the system works. It's just you do your best and you try to lock into it. But you lock into it because, take the posture, sit bones connected. Sit bones, always start first things first, sit bones connected.
chest lifted, shoulder blades release. The 4 fingers of the left hand up the forehead. Your right hand is nice and firm, but don't pull your right shoulder forward. Keep your shoulders balanced and your chest forward. Okay? Fingers firm, and give an engagement to your fingers and an engagement to your right arm. Not the tightest engagement possible, but engaged with a little bit of softness. Now close the eyes and begin to breathe long, slow, and deeply. With your eyes closed, gently roll the optic gaze up and in, where the root of the nose meets the skull bone. And breathe slowly and deeply. Focus on the energy flow of the breath throughout the body. Fingers of your right hand are firm. Arm is engaged. The extended arm often feels heavy or painful, and the mind will start to protest the idea of holding steady. Instead, try not to move the arms at all and focus on the breath. Make the breath steady, slow, and gradually deeper as you continue. The long, deep breath will stimulate the brow point, and it can start to relieve sensations of pain. Eventually, the glands will start to secrete, and the juices of the body of the endocrines start to flow. The enzymatic communications between the pituitary and the pineal, the sexual organ, the intuitive mind, the creative channel. You'll develop a sensitivity to stay steady even as your thoughts really begin to jump. The left hand is the heavens, and the right arm is extended balance to the earth. The consciousness processes both through the awareness. The steadiness that comes with this meditative state is the healing state. We're all experiencing the great pressure of this highly connected information age. The information from the body and mind of the person can disturb the prana in the body. This meditation creates a steadiness and a stillness that releases the reactive narratives and serves as a lever to shift the energy towards wholeness and healing. As you continue, the breath must become even deeper. That difficult or intense it becomes, that much deeper the breathing. If it's not intense and it's very subtle, make the breath very subtle. Meet the energy of the experience. this meditation, you can begin to beam the mind, to start to use the energy of the moon and the energy of the Kriya to kind of bring in the aspiration of your life and try to bring the energy of actualization through the difficulty, through the intensity. Feel your desire for happiness. Feel the creative aspirations and desires. And start to draw in that energy through the breathing. Open hand, fingers firm, chest lifted. Eventually you'll create a profound stillness. And within that stillness, you focus and connect deeply to anything that you think about. As you open up to the flow of thoughts and sensations in yourself and others, that focus allows you to stabilize the inner space and dwell in your consciousness. From this inner space, you can project a thought. You can connect to another person at a distance. Or as a healer, you can induce a resonance within a person who may need your healing heart. Beaming the mind is the basic skill that helps us reach our goals, shift our narratives, and overcome the pressures and the distractions of life. Almost there. Fingers firm. Try to every exhale, you push the breath completely out. Push the breath out every exhale. Almost there. That shaking of the nervous system. It's a strengthening. It's a broken pathways from stress kind of revitalizing themselves. It's prana chi channels opening. Fingers nice and firm, almost there. Deeper the breathing. Finish every exhale, make every inhale dynamic. And so the great warrior kriya of Kundalini Yoga. Bringing forth the deep magnetic vitality of your being on this full moon, in this season, as this great story of your life is inevitably unfolding. Will we be present for it? Deeper the breathing. 60 seconds. Deeper the breathing. Pelvic floor lifted. Strong foundation. 10 seconds. Inhale deeply. Hold the position, fingers firm, lift deeply, pelvic floor, rectum, sex organ, navel, third eye is the gaze, fingers firm, right hand firm, fingers like steel, hold the position through your nose, exhale. 2 more, inhale deeply, fingers firm, strengthen the arm, lift the pelvic floor, steady, spacious of the mind. Exhale through your nose. Last time, inhale deep. Fingers firm. Lift the Mulaban. Squeeze deeply the spine this time. Squeeze your spine. And through your nose, relax and exhale. Relax into a beautiful spaciousness. Keep your heart held up high. Keep the eyes rested down. And just let your chi flow. Relaxed awareness, presence, and enjoyment. And stay in that space, please, my friends, as you come in. Just for a few minutes, please relax on the back. Best and most really necessary part, relax, relax. And that's just allow yourself to be taken care of, to be nourished by the life force herself and by the earth that you're kind of melting into. Relax the jaw, relax the tongue, the mind, and just deeply listen. Let the mind relax. And bring your mind into like a vision of outer space. Or gazing up into the stars. And then just relax into the earth. move the fingers and move your toes. And rotate the wrists and rotate the ankles. Take a deep breath in again. And exhale. Stretch your arms over your head. Point through the toes. Take a deep inhale. Cat stretch to each side. And hug the knees, the chest, and then come up. And for just a moment, come into meditative position. It's kind of centralizing your energy force. Heart is lifted. It's giving good directionality to the mind and to the emotional body as we transition from this back into whatever is next. And so then what happens is the center point becomes most important, the heart. And the wish to be happy, to tune into that wish, that genuine wish that connects us all together, that we all share. The wish to have real, genuine happiness, and the wish to not suffer so much. And then when we feel that genuine for ourselves in our own hearts, it reminds us that that's just true of every other living being, every being that's capable of feeling. And so we can share that wish together, and it becomes this loving wish of our heart that's very natural to life. And then through that feeling, and then through that beautiful, blissful feeling of awareness, you can extend your loving kindness in all the directions to our loved ones, even to those who might be adversaries. To be able to do that, to have that heart feeling, even to those who may even wish us harm, is very liberating. It doesn't mean we don't have boundaries. This is all happening in the inner sanctuary of our heart. How we navigate in the outer world will require wisdom. So here, though, we center the entire energy system in the field of loving kindness and compassion for all of life. And in that field, we can even put our wish and our aspiration and just let it go. I'd put it in the sound current. Let the sound, because the sound is the ether element. You're going to put it in the sound. Let the sound take it away. Let it not be a burden on our minds. Because we're trusting in the flowing process of life, and we're enjoying the blossoming that's happening and about to happen. And then sometimes we find ourselves in its cold winter. Inhale and relax it all. Exhale. Don't we find it in the cold winter? And even when it's not winter outside. And then, but guess what comes after that? Spring is formed, you know. I read something the other day that I had never heard from Maya Angelou, and she was saying that somebody said he met her once and had dinner, and she told him to write this down on a napkin and never to forget it. And that was something like every storm cloud finishes its rain. You know, it only has so much. There's only so much rain in every storm cloud. And this is, you know, I'm sure a woman who's in her elder final years giving that advice that holds weight, it holds substance, and it's worth remembering. But it doesn't matter sometimes when we're in that, even when we're in the storm, even knowing all this sometimes doesn't feel like it makes it easier, you know. Philosophy does, if it makes it easier, just barely. But what does make it easier is real love. And to be able to go through hardships so that it's carving us in a way that we're becoming more deeply in love, that's very realistic. But that's what these practices are for and all about, is to have the vitality to do that. And then also, though, maybe things are not difficult and things are actually quite awesome. And sometimes both of those are true, aren't they? That we're even realizing how majestic things are, even though everything might be falling apart around us. The deeper down, you're still having fun if you admit it to yourself. And so that's so important. That's why I'm like, not to be in a rush of like eyes on enlightenment type of thing, but just eyes on the present, eyes on life right now, and continue. How do you put enough self-effort in so that things actually do blossom at a noticeable way? But not so much self-effort that it's rigid and it's uptight and it's a drag. So finding the sweet spot for that, and that's different for each one of us. That's why we created Life Force Academy, is to make it easy and to have a little something for all different approaches. Like a lot of people just do one class a week, and that does the trick. And some people are doing different power practices every day or whatever, or sometimes a couple times a week. There's no real one way to do all of this. But if you take those 3 little classes in the Life Force Academy, if you're new to it, some of you are Life Force Academy, you've done it, you know it, and maybe a little inspiration will help as we're traveling through this next month or so, and moving through 2 eclipses, and see if we can, for this season of our lives, like keep the good wind behind our sails, so that things aren't so much of a drag, and things can be really creative. Because I always think that's the spice of life that does it for me, is if I think less about this, which way the circumstances of my life are going to go. Trust me, I'm concerned about that too. But if I try my best to put less emphasis on that and more emphasis on how am I going to be creative. That doesn't mean like, how can I get to my painting project? That's not what I mean. So I mean, in whatever it is that is occupying so much of my time in this time of my life, how can I bring my creativity to that? And if I focus on that, life is far more joyful. Rick Rubin put out this great book called The Creative Act that I've been listening to. I have the hard copy and I have the audible, and it's really great because he reads it. And it's so zen. He's such a yogi himself. And he was saying, I was listening to him being interviewed, and he was saying, I don't know any of this stuff. It's just what I've observed over however decades of working with the greatest artists, musical artists on planet Earth. But it's not, this is applicable to anyone and everything. One time I heard it said that all that death is the opportunity of creativity as in this form has expired. I don't know what exactly that means, but I found it to be interesting. And so anyhow, that little bit of, not creativity in that, oh, if I didn't have all these responsibilities, then I could be creative. It's also bringing creativity to the responsibilities. It's bringing creativity to the way that we live our lives. It's bringing creativity to how are we going to work with our own mind? How are we going to shape our life in such a way that we can enjoy it? That takes some Shakti. That takes some energy, some magnetism, some life force, some chi, some prana, in order to be able to because many of our narratives, many of our deeper subconscious patterns, they have great Shakti. And that's why we keep on doing the same things over and over, even though we know it's causing us misery. And the way we talk to each other, and the way we talk to our significant other, and the way we talk to ourselves is the most important. The way, that inner voice. And so this is what all we're doing in Life Force Academy, particularly over this next few weeks. So every Monday evening I'll be teaching, but the whole library of classes are there. There's no way you could do everything that's in the Life Force Academy. That's not what it's not meant to do everything. As a starting point, it's find a couple things that are working for you and do them consistently. Every Monday we have a new class. And then that class is available to you on demand. And then there's a whole library of classes with all sorts of different kind of focuses and themes and subject matters for whatever it's feeling inspiring for you. And then all sorts of short practices that you can do in there as well. And so over the next few weeks, we have So we have this coming Monday, April 10th, and that's on that night we have an exact Jupiter-Sun conjunction. So that's fun when it lines up that way. That only happens once per year. And what happens when Sun and Jupiter conjunct? Well, Sun is our sense of what we are, our sense of identity. What am I proud of? And then what's Jupiter? Jupiter is wisdom. Jupiter is expansiveness. So you put those two together, but you're also doing it mindfully. This is when astrology becomes real fun, when you're one of the main priorities in life is shaping good narratives. So when Jupiter and the Sun comes together, it gives you an opportunity to work on that part of our psyche, because that's all really the planets represent, is different facets of the human psyche. The psyche of life. Jupiter is your relationship to learning in general, your relationship to teachers in general, your relationship to money in general, your relationship to wisdom in general. It's interesting, isn't it? Sun what is your sense of self? Do you feel very confident? Or do you feel more insecure? In different days. But what's the underlying thing there? So that April 10th class is called Unshakable Confidence, Jupiter-Sun conjunction. April 17th, these are just the live classes Monday nights in Life Force Academy through the month of April. Kundalini and the 7 power centers, because we're moving into the eclipse, and through this eclipse season into our Life Force Academy June immersion, we're working with the 7 chakras. And so that's what this is. And then the April 24th is called Prana Shakti. That's on building inner and outer magnetism. Really more on what we've been doing tonight. And the class takes place in between the 2 eclipses. That's why you say eclipse season, because first you get the solar, then you'll get the lunar. And in between, it's all eclipsy in there. It really is. And then, so and then you can see all of it on the pages here, what's coming up. And that's just one part of the academy, and then we'll have our webcasts on the evenings of the eclipses, on the days of the eclipses. So that's going to be beautiful too. And so everybody's invited. If you're not already a member, it's just $1 to try it out for 2 weeks. It's a $1 trial for 2 weeks. You can get a totally good sense of whether you like it. If you like this, you're going to like it. And if you find it useful. And then it's only $25 a month. And that's for all of it, which is, I think, a really good deal in terms of what you're getting access to in Life Force Academy. Or if you're feeling like really confident in that, we would love to be a member of Life Force Academy, go ahead and sign me up for a year, then it's only $19 a month. So you get a discount if you join the annual membership. And otherwise, it's $25 a month. Very reasonable. I say like a smoothie in Southern California is the same cost as a month of Life Force Academy. We're in Northern California. Our smoothies are like $19 up here. So that's about what it is. And so check it out. Please, if you are feeling inspired, join us for all of that. And it's fun. And all the music you heard tonight is all Life Force Academy original. At the June immersion, this whole band will be here playing. That's where all these everything I played tonight all came from Life Force Academy events that recorded, and we got amazing music out of it. It's a really cool thing. So anyhow, that's all. Let's seal this class though well. Take your hands into prayer pose. Give a good wish for you and your loved ones and all of everyone, everywhere, everything, all at once. Inhale. Exhale. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Life Force Academy team. Thank you, Naima and Aki. Thank you, Chandra. Thank you, I'm not going to go down the whole list, but thank you everybody. So many people involved in making these happen, and we need all of them. And so thank you to everybody who's attending, even if you're not jumping in to join more in Life Force Academy. Hope this was a cool experience for you. Have a beautiful rest of the week, everyone. Happy full moon, and see you on Monday.
Over time, the Life Force Academy has allowed me to just go deeper and deeper into myself.
The online experience through Life Force Academy is like no other platform that I have ever discovered. Between your video production, your sound production, Simrit's music, it just all comes together, and it really helps lift me up and take me to the next level.
There's no way to actually love another person unless you love yourself. So it's not even possible to have genuine concern for others without self-love.
I'm telling you, Jai, I never thought that I could do Kundalini Yoga, but thanks to you and the way in which you lead the Kriyas.
I truly recommend getting on this train. It's really been our connection to the world. It's kept us grounded.
Of course, the voice of Simrit, the sound current just moves through you.
And then we project from the heart using the navel so it penetrates and has an effect.
Your practice has allowed me for the first time to remove the negativity.
Very stressful. So just the whole 90 minutes was just such a release of being able to replace the chi with some really positive healing stuff. So thank you.
I've had situations with my back, my hip, sciatica. I am getting on the floor. I will just sit there with my legs straight. I will lean my back against the chair, and I just envisioned that I was doing exactly what the girl was in the video.
Extremely helpful for me to center me and deal with the kind of issues that I deal with in my daily life.
The 40-day challenge especially, I find that if that is my base for every morning, then I just feel more centered generally.
A sense of community, a sense of connection, a sense of focus. I'm online because I have a vision that needs execution, and this keeps me in line.
But you're wired somehow. Like you have a certain way of existing that is absolutely natural and skillful for you. It's you're talented in that way. It's how your heart expresses itself. It's how you get inside of love, and how love expresses itself uniquely through you.
If you have a mind, you have a mission.
If you have a mind,
You have a mission.
If you have a mind,
You have a mission.